you fall asleep within 30 minutes of getting into bed? If you wake up in the middle of the night, it's not more than 5 minutes. Do you feel refreshed and full of energy when you wake up, like you're ready to take on the day? If you answered no to any of these questions, then it's possible that you're not getting adequate sleep. Hi, I'm Pratishtha, and today we'll be talking about sleep. Understand what impacts our sleep, what makes us fall asleep, what interferes with it, and what can we do to get a good night's sleep. By the end of this video, you would be able to understand your sleep pattern better and start taking steps towards a restful good night's sleep. So let's start with trying to understand how sleep works. Sleep is not a passive process. While your body is getting, a physical downtime, there is a lot happening inside. Memories are being formed, and it is the most effective time for the body to carry out its healing and repair processes. And even when it comes to mental health, sleep plays an important role. Not getting enough sleep can impair your judgment, can make you feel upset, irritable, you might have compromised decision making, and you're more vulnerable to feeling stressed out and not be able to cope with it. So it's important to recognize if that's happening to you. Our sleep is a combination of two processes mostly. The circadian rhythm, or what is more popularly known as our biological clock or our body clock, and the sleep-wake homeostasis, which is also known as sleep pressure. Now, the circadian rhythm is something which is attuned to the environmental cues, particularly light. So when it starts to get darker, our brain starts preparing for sleep. The sleep hormone melatonin is released and our brain starts preparing our body for sleep. And when it starts to get lighter, it starts triggering the wakeful activity. The second process, which is the sleep pressure or the sleep-wake homeostasis, it starts to build the longer you're awake. Your sleep pressure builds up till a point your body and brain cannot take it anymore and you fall asleep. So it's a combination of these two processes that create your own, unique sleep cycle, and it is the interruption precisely in these two processes which will disturb your sleep. Imagine a scenario, it's the end of a tiring day, your body is hurting, you're super tired, and you're trying to fall asleep, but you just can't. Or if you fall asleep, it's disturbed sleep, you wake up multiple times at the night, or when you wake up in the morning, you're not feeling as fresh. That can happen to any of us, and multiple reasons can contribute to it. Let's try to understand what it might be for you. The most common reason is stress or mental exhaustion. If your body and brain, or rather if your brain has gone through the day active throughout or on an alert mode throughout, it will not magically shut off at night. In fact, even if you have fallen asleep, being stressed through the day will keep your mind, keep your brain in an alert mode, thinking, planning, overthinking, even while you're asleep, so that when you wake up, you're not feeling rested. The second thing, and probably the most common thing that interrupts with your sleep, and you're not going to like it, is your phone. The blue light that all our gadgets emit interrupt with sleep because they suppress the release of melatonin, and hence your brain does not get the signal that it's time to sleep. But another thing that happens quite frequently is, you're scrolling on your phone at night and your brain continues to be active. It's not winding down. Instead of ending your day, calming down, winding down, the phone keeps you up. Rather, it's possible that it activates you even further. The third thing that often or can possibly interrupt with your sleep is if you're going through a difficult time. That could be a difficulty in your workplace, that could be a difficulty in a relationship, or maybe something's up with your health and you're stressed about it. Now, stress, the way our body responds to stress, the response of the sympathetic nervous system, it further activates our brain and our body, and hence interrupting in calming it down, in relaxing when it's time to sleep. Other things such as physical health concerns sometimes can interfere with sleep, such as sleep apnea, PCOS, thyroid imbalance, or any hormonal imbalance. All of these things can compromise your sleep. Occasionally, medications taken for mental health concerns or even physical health concerns can create or contribute to sleep difficulties as a side effect. But one of the things which is important and is very changeable, probably the most changeable, is just poor sleep hygiene, which is just a catch-all fancy term for habits that that you're doing that are just delaying sleep. Whether it is eating your food in bed, scrolling your phone in bed, or working in bed, or having caffeine close to your bedtime, these small activities contribute to poor sleep hygiene and can push sleep bit by bit, sometimes without you even realizing. So if you're struggling with sleep, check for these 5 reasons: how mentally exhausted you are, whether your how much time you're spending on your gadgets, on your phone close to your bedtime. Are you emotionally overwhelmed because of some difficult experience in life? Is there any physical health concern or the medication associated with it? And poor sleep habits or poor sleep hygiene, and we'll talk about how you can correct these things so that you can sleep better. Let's now talk about what can you do to improve your sleep. The first one, probably, all of you would have read it or heard it at some point, is stick to a sleep routine, which pretty much means sleep at the same time, wake up at the same time every day, including the weekends, with a variation of 15 minutes. Now, every time I say this to someone in sessions, they would be like, Pratishta, I can't control the time I fall asleep, which is true. Fair enough. If that was, something we all could do, then sleep problems wouldn't exist. But what you can control, thanks to alarms or asking people to wake you up, is the time you wake up. And if you keep your waking up time consistent, thanks to the sleep pressure that we spoke about, the sleep pressure will build and you will fall asleep on time automatically in accordance to your body's need of sleep. So having the sleep routine can start with just fixing a waking up time and fixing a getting into bed time, because all of us, yeah, obviously we can't control the time we actually fall asleep. So keep that consistent. The next thing is to practice good sleep hygiene, small habits that add up. One of the most common ones is, avoiding caffeine. So whether it's coffee, tea, carbonated drinks, don't have them, maybe after early evening, 4 5 p.m., don't have them after that. Don't have heavy meals at night. It will not only compromise your quality of sleep but can also give you very vivid, almost nightmare like dreams also occasionally. Avoid cigarettes and alcohol. A lot of people have this habit of, let me have my last smoke before I go off to sleep, and they'll be like, okay, it helps me relax, or let me have another drink. But what happens is, if you drink alcohol to fall asleep, maybe you'll fall asleep, maybe, in fact you might fall asleep quicker, or if you have had a lot to drink, you might even pass out. But it will not be good quality sleep. And if any of you track sleep, through trackers or anything like that, you would realize that you didn't get a good sleep score the next day, because the substance, or the excess of substance will compromise the duration or the time you spend in different sleep stages, or you might end up skipping one stage altogether. And spending time in all sleep stages is important for good quality sleep. So avoid substances close to your bedtime. Definitely make sure that your sleeping environment is comfortable. Usually people think being cozy is what makes them fall asleep, but actually our body is primed to sleep better at a slightly cooler temperature. So make sure that your room temperature is comfortably cool and not comfortably warm. So it's comfortably cool. Make sure your mattress is comfortable. There are not mosquitoes. If you are a shift worker and you sleep, when it is still light outside or there is a lot of activity outside, make sure you do things such as maybe wear an eye mask, put on earplugs, so that the natural things happening around you don't wake you up. Because especially for shift workers, know that you're fighting against the human natural biological clock. You're sleeping through the day and being up at night, so you'll have to support yourself a little more. So use blackout curtains, eye masks to sort of deal with all the interruptions that may happen. So make sure you practice good sleep hygiene and your environment is set up for you to get good quality sleep. Now let's talk about Sleep Bed Connect. This is a very interesting process. Our brain is an association machine and it happens very naturally. So, when you're in bed and you're doing a whole lot of things in your bed, right? Whether you're watching TV or eating food or just chatting away on the phone, your brain learns to associate the bed with all these things alongside sleep, right? So, when you get into bed wanting to sleep, your brain is not sure. It can say, okay, maybe it's time to look at the phone for some time, or maybe I can, read, or any of those things. But when you change that, when you use your bed only to fall asleep or only to, with an intention of falling asleep, this connection can be established. You can train your brain to associate bed with sleep only to make falling asleep, a much more efficient experience. One of the things that I had mentioned that interrupt with sleep is just stress, and many of the people who come in for sessions would often say, Pratishtha, I worry the most during bedtime. They talk about how they'll be lying in bed, staring up at the ceiling, and all the thoughts of all the stressful things that happened in the day or might happen tomorrow come to their mind at that point of time, because obviously there is nothing else to do, there is no other stimulus, it's dark, you've cut everything off, and now you're at your mind's mercy, and sometimes worries can run havoc, right? So it's important, if you're trying to fall asleep, that you learn how to manage your worries. You can do a few things for it. One of the things that you can do is establish what we can call as worry time. Now, I know that sounds a little odd. If you don't want to worry, then why schedule worry time? But worry time is an intentional way or that you can commit or earmark some time in your day, ideally not before bedtime and not immediately after waking up. You can earmark some time in your day where you actively go and think about all the things that you're worried about. Write it down in a diary and say, hey, maybe at 6 p.m. I will revisit, I will read this diary and think about what I'm worried about, and maybe try to problem solve then. And if these worrisome thoughts come to you at night, take out your worry diary, note these things down. You know that you will get to them. If it's a problem solving that needs to be done, you'll get to it at your next worry time, maybe 6 p.m. the next day. So scheduling worry time allows you to almost procrastinate on worrying, and that's a procrastination I can get behind. Secondly, sometimes people worry about sleep. Quite meta there, they'll be trying to fall asleep but worrying about not falling asleep. So they'll be like, oh my god, it's been so long, I've not fallen asleep. If I don't fall asleep now, I'll be tired tomorrow. And these thoughts, in a very counterintuitive way, can keep you further awake. So, one thing that you can try doing is stop trying to fall asleep. Rather, do the opposite. Try to stay awake, right? But don't start running and all, but let go of the pressure that I must fall asleep immediately, because that could be the thing that's keeping you up. So address worries about falling asleep and say, okay, if I'm tired in the morning, I can do something in the morning to feel refreshed or better, but I don't have to pressurize myself or psych myself out about sleeping. Another important thing that you can do is create a sleeping ritual, and that can be your unique set of rituals. Do a little bit of trial or error things. Maybe you can meditate. There are so many apps these days that will give you guided meditation. Try to just put on your earphones or maybe put it on loudspeaker. Don't look at your phone ideally, and practice some breathing exercises, or take a warm shower, or have a warm glass of milk, or listen to calming music. All these things, again, because our brain is an association machine, when you start to do these activities, your brain would be like, oh, it's time to fall asleep. And because it has associated these activities to be happening just before bedtime. So create your own sleep ritual that makes sense to you, whether it is reading, you can read something. Don't read something which is too interesting or too engaging, rather read something which helps you wind down. Listen to some calming music. You can have some, chamomile or relaxing teas or some warm milk, and create a ritual which works for you. Now, what is important is all the strategies that I spoke about work well when you want to sleep. But what do we do? And I know all of us have done that. What do we do when we ourselves don't want to fall asleep, but we know sleeping is important for us? And this is called as sleep procrastination or revenge sleep procrastination, which is becoming fairly common these days. People, and you would have experienced too, people, when it's time to get in bed, or it's time to sleep rather, they want to do other things because maybe the day has gone by too quickly, they didn't get enough time to themselves to wind down, or they just kept pushing relaxing to the end of the day, and now it's end of the day but you're not feeling relaxed. So people often procrastinate sleeping, and it's important to address that because there is an internal conflict there. Sleeping is important for you, but you're still not falling asleep because you want to relax. Now, one of the things that you can do is definitely call it out, call yourself out on it, that I am procrastinating sleep intentionally now. It's not something you need to shame yourself for, but it's important to recognize. Like I mentioned, the thing that often triggers sleep procrastination is not getting downtime through the day. So to address it, it's important that you schedule downtime before your actual bedtime, right? Don't push it to the sleeping time. So whether it's 30 to 60 minutes before getting into bed, plan an activity for yourself which will help you relax, which will help you unwind. Don't hope that magically you would be relaxed by the end of the day. And if there is something that is specifically you want to do, whether it is, say, watch a show, read a book, catch up with a friend, plan that as well. Don't overthink this. Say, okay, this will probably take me 15-20 minutes. Do it and then get to sleep instead of just doing it endlessly. Commit a time to it, do it, and then address the need for sleep as well. And you can always motivate yourself by telling yourself, hey, if I sleep well today, I will feel better tomorrow, and I can do this fun activity tomorrow as well. So address sleep procrastination, because sometimes we can be our worst enemy. So let's quickly summarize all the things that you can do to improve your sleep quality. Number one, create a sleep routine. Fix a wake up time and a sleeping time accordingly, and stick to it even on weekends. Create a good sleep ritual so that your brain is primed to fall asleep at that time, along with establishing a sleep bed connect by not using your bed to do things other than falling asleep. Practice good sleep hygiene, avoid caffeine, avoid substances, avoid heavy meals very close to bedtime. Try and manage your worries, practice worry time or writing in your worry diary. You can also try some mindfulness exercises if needed. Definitely identify and address sleep procrastination, call it out for what it is, and schedule some downtime for you through the day so that you don't feel the need to procrastinate sleep. Having said all of this, please know that all of this is not a replacement for professional help. So if you've been struggling with your sleep for an extended period of time, you're not getting good quality sleep for a few weeks or even a few months, definitely seek out professional help. Or if these problematic sleep patterns are existing along with, say, low mood or severe anxiety, then more can be happening. So definitely reach out to a mental health professional. Hopefully some of these or many of these would help you sleep better, and you will feel more in control of your life and more in control of your sleep. Thank you.